This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So, hello everybody. Looks like I'm calling the April 2021 Stephentown Memorial Library Board of Trustees meeting to order at 7:06 p.m. Melanie has graciously agreed to act as secretary today since Renee can't make it. And Sarah is going to act as secretary during the annual meeting for Renee. So thank you both for stepping up. Appreciate it. So can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make the motion to adopt the agenda.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, so all in favor? Aye.
Yes.
All right. All opposed say nay. The motion carries. All right. Moving on. Any questions or corrections for the March minutes? Hearing none, may I get a motion to approve the March minutes?
I'll move.
Scott saying no. No. Rebecca, thank you. Who's
Second it.
Thanks, Sarah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carried. Thank you. This is so silly.
Just because it's Tom's last night, don't be too nice to him because you'll make him cry.
It's not his last night though. He's still got Sunday night, so.
Oh, yeah, damn.
Oh,
Okay.
we'll make this a meeting to remember.
That's Sunday. That's gonna break me up. I thought tonight was my last night. No, just kidding.
Just when you thought you were out.
Right?
Pull you back in.
That's okay. You're a wonderful bunch of people.
Okay, so moving right along. Next is planning calendar. So I did a slightly different format, and since we're trying to keep the meetings moving along, and we agreed we try to, just highlight the things that the board needs to pay attention to versus just FYI stuff. The stuff that I thought we should mention tonight is in bold. So just a couple things to mention. So in February, we had an item saying set the event schedule for 2021. And I know we've set several events, but I don't think we've set all of them. So I just wanted to just mention that we probably still have a few more events that we need to actually put into the calendar. Coming up in May, there's quite a bit of activity. So May 1st, we have the Bob Smith 5K at the Berlin School. And I think right now, Rebecca and her family, Melanie and her kids, me, my mom are participating. Tom and Anita are, but they'll be for the fire department at that point since it's May 1st.
I'm gonna be away that week, so otherwise I would be
Okay.
as well.
So I don't think we're really doing anything formal, but we'll just sort of put out some Facebook stuff and mention that we're supporting that. Our own scholarship deadline is coming up in May as well, 14th. Have we received any applications at this point? Do we know?
Nope, not that I know of.
Okay, so we'll do a little bit more publicity and posts and things about that then.
The kids usually, it usually comes in at the last minute. So it's very rare that they're like not scrambling.
It might be a little harder this year too, because most kids are only there 2 days a week. So in order to get information and pick it up.
Okay.
I'll send out reminders though to all the guidance counselors.
Okay,
I
great.
can only think of 2 Stephentown seniors, but there could be more.
Really?
Who's graduating here?
Haley Beckwith and Jordan Breezy. I don't know if you know her.
I know the name.
So that might be,
There could be others that I don't realize they're seniors.
okay. Oh, Melanie, you're on mute.
Sorry. There could be a New Lebanon or Averill Park senior too.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so we'll wait to see. We'll put some more word out. Okay. May 11th, there's a Upper Hudson Core Trustee training. So Robin is going to try to attend that. I suppose if we end up that Scott Connors, Chris, well, he actually wouldn't be on the board at that point yet. But anyway, Robin can get the training in. I just wanted to mention that our May meeting is when we'll be electing new board officers and reviewing committee assignments. So if people want to think about that before the May meeting and what they might be interested in doing. And then we had a placeholder for fundraiser book sale brunch. We can talk about this in the fundraising committee report, but just mentioning that was on the planning calendar. So. And then we also have the tent setup that we talked about last week coming up that I think we are trying to shoot for a little bit earlier than what was on the calendar for the end of May. I don't know if Rebecca, you've had any.
I've left a message with them, but I haven't heard back yet. I'll try again tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Any other comments, questions, thoughts on planning calendar? Anything we're missing? Okay. Shall we move on then to the director's report?
Okay, I'm going to do my best here. So I sent it out, the director's report out to everybody, as well as the financial statements. I'm hoping everyone got those. So as far as April programs that we have happening, we still have Easter grab and go bags left. Rebecca, I just found it. I saw that your email that we have like 20 something bags left. I would say if we put that out to the people in town, like just put it out and saying we have extras and, come and pick them up. I think we can probably get rid of them. I don't think we need to send them out anywhere. We had the Battle of Britain. We're doing a flower, like it's a wooden ornament to, paint, and then Jody's going to be shellacking them or doing some kind of varnish on them, and then on the library on the walls. And I just realized my computer's going to die. Look at that in a second. We have book club. We have the April tween take and make. I have no idea if anyone's actually taken any books or not, but I had a whole bunch of teen program books or program activities and books to do, and it seemed, I don't know, I'll see if anyone's actually taking them or not. I have no idea. I haven't checked in.
I know Madison Rante did, and she liked it.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, then I'll hope. We'll see if it keeps going. We do have book club on April 20th, and we have a blood drive on the 29th. I'm going to need volunteers again to help with that. So if anyone's available and wants to give me a hand, that'd be great. I think, Jen, you said already that you were going to be possibly available.
Yeah, and I did well.
And Sarah too. Okay. So if anyone else wants to give a hand, that'd be fantastic. I should be, well, I will at least be on one crutch hopefully by then. So hopefully I can at least be there. What's that?
What is the date?
It's the 29th, and it's from 1 to 6.
Okay.
So I have my program statistics of what it looks like. The Battle of Britain went really well. From what I have heard, that we had at least 38 people in the first session. I'm not sure how many we had in the second, but thank you so much.
In the second, but still, people came back.
That's awesome. Thank you so much to Robin and Jen and Sarah and everybody who helped with that, because it was big, and I feel bad that I had to completely bail on everybody for it, but hopefully he'll do some more stuff that we can do. And this goes into part of the report, but we also have I just renewed or not renewed, but I got another subscription to the USS Slater. So for a library membership. So I'm hoping that they do programming as well. So I'm hoping that they'll do something that we could bring down and maybe have something that's for the veterans as well. So that might be kind of neat if we can do something similar. But we had Dr. Seuss was very popular, so we had lots of stuff that was all good. So you can see our statistics. We're still circulating a ton of items to other libraries. We loaned 1,040 items to other libraries this year, or this month alone, whereas we circulated 504 items in Stephentown at our library. Sorry, excuse me for one second. Alden, can you grab the cord and plug that in? Sorry, my computer is going to die in a minute. So we have added a few, sweetie. We've added a few members to the library. We have some new people now, or a new. Okay. We do have some new patrons. Okay, so as far as I know, everything's been going pretty steady. Easter was a great success. We've got lots of people. If you see at the bottom of my report, you can see some of the feedback we've gotten from people. Some families have sent pictures, which was just wonderful to see. It was so nice to see some of the kids, with their packages. Summer camp application, everything's all set and ready to go. I just need to get Larry's signature on a few things, but I contacted this county and she said that it can wait until I'm back. So there's nothing needing to be rushed for that. Our accountant now has everything that they need for our 2020 taxes. So we'll see where that goes. Hopefully it'll be done relatively soon. In terms of new museum passes, we have a whole bunch that are now available. That will be available once I actually get the passes in hand and then have them ready to go. But we're doing Chesterwood is now available to the library, the USS Slater, Berkshire Botanical Gardens, and there's a new one called the Adirondack Experience. It is far away, but I thought that, if people are going on a vacation, they want to take it for a weekend, or even if just going up to the Adirondacks for a weekend, it would be a really great museum pass to have. So I figured it was only $60, so I figured it can't hurt to give it a try. Let's see if anyone is interested in it.
Cool.
What's that?
I said it sounds cool.
Yeah, I thought it sounded great, so it was kind of like, well, let's give it a try. So once I have a lot of these places don't open for another couple weeks or so. So once I have the physical passes in hand, then I'll start the advertising, and then we can start doing Facebook and, trying to really get the word out. And then just so you all know, I contacted Ruth Horowitz, who's the children's writer that Sarah knows, and she's fantastic. She was wonderful to talk to. And we are going to try and get some kind of a program together in May. I'm going to contact the Berlin school and see if there's some way that we could do it so that, maybe each class of kids who are together can Zoom call in, and that way teachers can then have, I'm thinking the teachers can then, gather questions from the kids, or they can do something together, but that way it's not an individual thing where you've got 40 children just individually on Zoom trying to interact with her. But if we have it through classrooms, then the teachers will have some more control over the kids, and then we can maybe have a better presentation. So I'll be calling and trying to get in touch with any of the schools, with Berlin at least, to see if they might be interested.
I think most classrooms have smart boards, so they could probably do it on that.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great. So that would be even better. So we could do something like that. And she's already trying to think about some kind of an activity to keep the kids like doing something as well and not just sitting there and listening to her talk. So we are going to try and come up with something decent for this program. So I'm really excited about that. I think it should be a good time. And her book was great. I thought it was really cute, and it was a great little, it was a great way to celebrate the library and what kinds of things we can do for people. So she's all on board for doing something fun for that. So once I'm a little bit better and, back into the swing of things, then we'll figure something out.
I wonder if she would be comfortable recording it like we did the Battle of Britain, because we do seem to have gotten a few views on YouTube. I don't know if it's all in his family, but if we can add some more to it, that would be great.
I did see that, and I'm going to ask her. I think that would be a great thing if we could do that. So I'll find out. But I think that if we have programs like this, maybe we can try and start recording more of them and sending them over. That would be great, And even when we go back to virtual, I sometimes will take video of people, some of the programs, and if I can, put snippets up or just try and keep it going, I'll probably do that too. So, as far as I know, I think that's pretty much it. I guess on a personal note, surgery went well, everything's okay. It's taking me longer to recover than I want to be, but that's just because I'm anxious to get back to my normal life and not be stuck in this reclining chair and, at home and not driving and being in pain, but all is good otherwise. So, and I did actually just get my second COVID vaccine shot, so now my arm's sore as well. So hopefully it won't be too bad for the next couple of days. But I do also think, I know that everybody has at least had their first round of vaccine in terms of staff. So I don't know if we want to, I don't know if that was on the agenda, but at some point, we can talk about reopening and doing things a little bit better, or maybe expanding some of our services so that we're not so restricted.
Yeah, definitely on the agenda for the next item.
Okay.
Just before we move on, can I just ask two questions, or I'll say one thing and then ask a question too.
Sure.
I just wanted, I'm not sure if this is the right place, but I think this is generally where it happens. I just wanted to let folks know that if they didn't see that the New York State budget process has completed, and state library aid was, let's see here, it's stable from last year at 94.1 million. So there wasn't the cuts that they were fearing on that. And I'll also talk about this later too, but the construction aid resumed at the higher 2019 funding of 34 million. And there are some other new grants available around digital inclusion, and then there's targeted aid. So I can forward the NYLA announcement for folks if they're interested, but just to say that the budget process turned out more positive than they were worried about the cuts. So
yep.
And then one quick question, Kim, from I think the previous meeting. Was there any update on that Upper Hudson Anti-Racism Task Force? Are they meeting, do you know? Or?
They are. They're in full swing. So, if anyone's interested in being a part of it, I think I'm honestly not quite sure where it is in terms of, asking other people who are not directors or library staff. But I can find out a little bit more information for it and let you know. But they are, they're coming up with program or trainings, and they're doing quite a bit. It was something that I was going to be a part of, but was unfortunately I had to back out of it a while ago. But I can, like I said, I can find out some more information. There's a DA meeting tomorrow, so I'm sure we'll get updates, and I can find out, they're accepting new members, or if anybody's interested in becoming a part of it, then I can find out tomorrow.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, I think just because of some of that policy stuff that came up, that even if we're not in the thing, if we could stay plugged into it, it's probably helpful for as we move
Sure.
forward. Thank
Yep.
you. Any questions or comments on director's report before we move on? Okay. So yeah, so next is pandemic phase update and the possibility of reopening to in-person browsing all of the days we are open. I know when we talked about it last month, there was some question about, requiring proof of vaccination. Was UHLS going to have any guidelines on that? And do we need to, figure out what our plan will be and what are there other changes that are staying in place? Like, I assume right now the community room would remain closed for group usage. Do we allow the bathroom to be open? That kind of stuff. So with, like I said, with everyone about to be either fully vaccinated, are we ready to move in that direction?
It seems to me that we are, at least to try and expand. I know that Jody, she has said that now that she's completely vaccinated, she's got both of her shots, she's ready to, say we can do open by appointment again. Still somewhat limited capacity, but I think that if we were to at least increase the number, and I don't know that we can, I think it's still important that people kind of call to say, yes, I'm going to come in, so that we don't have a ton of people all at once. But again, nobody ever makes an appointment. Most people just show up when they want to and say, hey, I'm here. So
I was wondering about that. I don't know. I had heard that as well. That people, and so do we just sort of more have a capacity limitation to say, appointments are recommended and no more than, because we don't allow more than X number of people in the library at a time. But if people want to take a chance, they can just stop
yeah.
in.
Yeah, I think that that's fine. I mean, that's one thing we learned from Stephentown, is that they do not like to make appointments to come into the library. And I've even talked to some friends who are like, I don't know what it is about it, but I just don't want to have to call and say, hey, I'm coming. I just want to be able to go. So I think that if we were to say, come to the library, but I don't know if we want to increase. I think right now we're at 3 people per library, or per appointment time. I'm sure we can raise that a little bit. We're also, UHLS is no longer recommending that we quarantine our items anymore, knowing that the virus really isn't spread through physical items that you touch and then somehow get it onto your face. So they're dropping some of that recommendation. I'll find out tomorrow what the more updated stuff is. So I think it would be fine to say, we're going to be back up. I'm not sure about the number of people. I don't know if anyone has any ideas for that, but how many at a time?
Are there guidelines based on I know we've never been able to get our maximum capacity number and such, but occupancy number, but guidelines are based on that at this point, or based on
We are well below with the guidelines. I think the guidelines are like, it's at 40, I don't know, is it 40%, 50% capacity for restaurants at least? I'm not sure. I don't remember what it is. I'd have to look. But we've always been much, much lower than that. So let's see.
we can probably only accommodate 2, can we accommodate 2 people using a computer at this point?
Yeah, because we definitely have, we have 3 computers available that are all distanced enough that people could use we could have 3 different people at one time using the computer.
Okay.
I'll ask my office what at least the state was using to determine occupancy levels. They didn't go by percentage, they were using square footage. I'll find out from my HR director what they did.
Okay.
Because
great.
while we won't have occupancy, because the town hasn't done that, we do have square footage, so you'll be able to work backwards.
I think it would be really great to be able to announce this change at the annual meeting, to be able to say we are opening up some more. Even if it's saying, even if we decide we're not doing it till May 1st or something, but I think it would be nice to announce it then if we think we can get that number and plan together.
Kim, any number of libraries have already opened up for just drop-in browsing, haven't they?
There are quite a few who have opened up. Yeah, I mean, everyone's still restricted. I think some of the smaller ones like Grafton, they've never really had any restrictions when it comes to their stuff, but most people, I don't know, but most libraries are still very restricted in terms of what they're allowing. I can actually find out a little bit more about it in terms.
Do we want to
I got
limit
the sense.
the time as well, or just the occupant, or just the number of people? I'm sorry, Scott.
I got the sense that the libraries were all over the place. There are
They
people
are.
who are operating fairly, basically pretty much back to normal, and others have not.
Albany lot is still curbside, still by appointment. Berlin is open. Bern is open for a limited. Bethlehem is still limited services, 15 people per at one time. So yeah, if you go to the Upper Hudson website, they have a place where you can on the very front page where it says click here for current status, you can find out where all the different libraries are. We're supposed to be keeping that up to date as much as possible. Castleton, which is probably more on our in terms of size, they're open for walk-in service with a max of 30 minutes, 5 people at a time, but open for just people walking in. They're not doing bathrooms, computers, toys, games, newspapers, that kind of stuff still.
And is that where you're leaning, Kim? No bathroom and keep it to 30 minutes?
I would say still keeping it to 30 minutes. I don't think we're looking for people to hang out.
Hi, Ed.
Hi, gang.
Hey,
I'm finally here. Have you finished talking about me?
Thanks for joining. We're just talking about the reopening plan, adjusting things to have in-person browsing all the days we're open. And we're just talking about some of the details, like limiting it to 30 minutes and the number of people we would have at a time.
Well,
Manans is back to normal.
It seems like maybe it's easier for a smaller library to go back to normal because we would never get 50 people in at once anyway, like Albany might or something.
Exactly. Petersburg is still at their doing. So I guess it's really up to us what we want to do. Well, obviously it's up to us, but it looks like most of the smaller libraries are definitely saying, it's still, they're open for browsing.
So
Schaghticoke is completely open.
Do you feel ready to put together a plan, or do you want to send us a recommendation, Kim, and then we can have the announcement at the annual meeting?
Sure.
Okay.
You're not on my, oh, yes, you are. Okay, I see you. I was thinking, Kim, you weren't on my screen. The one thing I'll say about this meeting is it isn't as great as the last one because they gave me a bottle of champagne, the last one.
Wow.
Yes.
What did you do to deserve that?
I made a donation. Anyhow, as you all know, I'm avidly in favor of opening the library as soon as possible. So whatever this extreme end of opening is I'm in favor. And have been for 8 months or 9 months.
But it's not bitter.
Pardon?
I said, you're not bitter.
I
You're
can't hear
not
you.
bitter.
Oh, okay.
I think
So
we
just
would probably, I think we would still keep it so that the kids' room, we're not going to put toys out yet because there's no way we're going to be able to disinfect everything. And so, it'll definitely be limited in terms of what we're going to offer everybody. But I think that getting people in is going to be fine to, I think we have enough space that people can spread out, and I don't know that we necessarily need to put a huge cap on it. But, even if we say 10 people at a time, we've never had, unless it's a program, I don't think we've ever actually had 10 people at one time in the library just for, browsing purposes. So I'll put something together though, and we can put it out for the meeting on Sunday and then go from there, if that works.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay.
Exciting.
We should start by setting an example ourselves and have our meetings in person.
It's too rainy tonight. I'm glad to be home.
Yeah, me
Isn't it
too.
snow tonight? That's my weather report says.
I wouldn't be there if we were in person, so I can say.
But, okay. We have some of each.
Okay, good. So we got that one done. So let's move on to treasurer's report.
Okay, so I'm not going to go through all the detail of how much money is in each of the accounts, but we'll tell you that we have $177,753.63 altogether which is, close to where it was last time. We have $5,186 in the checking account, and that includes the bake sale money, which was a full $800.50 we managed to make, and a lot of that was in cash, separate from the pre-order. So that was really great. And I ran the money over to Capcom last week as well. It's all in the bank. The budget things that need attention, I can kind of walk through them without making decisions because most of the decisions are related to brand and marketing committee related things. So I'll expound on that a little bit, but just so you know, these are things that are budget oriented. We need board approval on marketing budget recommendations covered in the brand and marketing committee report, including out of our $1,500 marketing budget, we propose spending $600 on the development of the new logo and a style book to go with that, which we've talked about before. And I think you all knew that that was happening. And we now have chosen somebody that we'd like to work with, which I'll talk about in the next section. We also propose spending between $55 and $305 of Stephentown's of the library's money on the community survey that we're doing. So it's not going to be a large expenditure for the library, even under the worst case scenario, and it could be really, really modest. And I can explain the variables are we have 3,000 that we're getting from the grant. The research is costing approximately 2,800. And then the incentive that we're giving the prizes for the 3 people is $250. So that means the grant covers the survey, all of the tabulation and stuff, and the prizes except for $55 worth. So we will cover that. And then we are budgeted for 250 completes out of the 1,300 or so households that are going to get the survey, the postcard about the survey, which is like an 18% response rate. I'm expecting between an 18% response rate and a 36% response rate. Every single survey that comes in after that 50, which would be good news if we get more, the higher the response rate, the better, is $1 extra. So the most that I can envision getting is 500 out of that 1,300 households. So that would be an additional cost of $250 plus the 55. So we're going to need board approval to pay that for the research. Did that make sense, or was that complicated?
That makes sense.
You're with me. Okay, good. And then we need board approval on a construction grant, which I think then we'll talk to more. I don't know if you want to discuss that now or. Okay. And then, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say we can talk about it at the other point, the other committee meeting. I mean, committee report, pardon me.
Okay. And then the pièce de résistance on things that need attention are, I am planning to step down as treasurer, mainly because I'm going to have a lot of responsibilities relative to this survey and all the other brand and marketing stuff we're doing. And Melanie was kind enough to say that she'd be willing to do it. I wouldn't go so far as to say she was jumping at the chance, but she said she would be willing and happy to do it. So I hope that we can vote tonight to approve Melanie taking over the treasurer's role.
Can't get rid of
And I think we just do that under new business. Is that correct? Is that okay? Or do we do it now? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. All right. Shall we do it now so we get it out of the way?
Is Sarah that anxious?
Yes.
Well, then I before we go there, I have a question for you. As I was looking at the numbers, it looked to me that we were pretty much on target and budget. If you took our first quarter and then extrapolated out based upon our perspective, it seemed like we were maybe a little short on fundraising because those funds either come in over time or at the end. But things look pretty good from what I could tell. I was just looking for someone to say, yes, you're not crazy.
No, I think that's absolutely right. Yeah, I think I said at the last meeting, I think we came out a little ahead from the pandemic financially, and we're in solid shape. So yes, I agree.
And now you can quit.
Yeah.
Although resting on those laurels, I mean, you're sort of like you're turning over the organization. It's on a fiscally sound basis, and we have a program to move forward.
If it all goes to hell from
Melanie,
here, it
you
ain't
just
my.
screw it up. It's as simple as that.
That's right.
Any other questions or comments on the treasurer's report before we make our vote? Good. Okay, so let's see. I think, what do we have to say? So I guess, can we get a motion to elect Melanie as treasurer? Is that the appropriate language?
Sounds good.
Well, I guess, Sarah, you resigned, right? You quit, didn't you?
I quit.
Yeah. Did you do it in writing or did you just, leave in a huff?
Just up and did it.
Okay, fine. So
I'm doing it now, actually. I haven't done it before. I've been
We've
working
all
hard
witnessed
at this moment.
the quitting. We now have a vacancy, so let's fill it.
Yeah.
Okay. So a motion to have Melanie fill the vacant position of treasurer.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, great.
Thank you very
all
much.
in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Melanie's abstaining. The motion carries.
Do you vote on yourself? I don't know. We
Sarah,
have
do you
enough.
turn over the scepter now?
Okay, great. So we're going to move into committee reports. I wanted to just, before we jump into them, I wanted to just say at this point, because as we're going to see from these reports, everyone has been really busy, and I know everyone's spent a fair amount of time working on library work right in the past months, and before that too, but just saying what I'm aware of. And I just want to say how grateful I am that everyone has been so on board with getting things done. And I think, it's a good feeling when you see progress happening, and that can be a reward in and of itself. However, I know everybody has other obligations in their life. And as Scott mentioned in his email, I don't think any of us want people to feel overwhelmed by the library work. And we're all enthusiastic and kind of passionate about it. So it's easy to get in over our heads on what we can actually accomplish. And I think we should just be very mindful of not allowing ourselves to get overwhelmed and biting off more than we can chew. Just please, speak up if you think that we are doing that, let's all have reality checks as we talk about what we're hoping to do and hoping to accomplish, and set ourselves reasonable expectations and goals. And, I think anytime people have a busy time in their life or things like that, like, I think we all understand when people have to step back a little bit. I hope people don't feel bad about having those times where they need to do that. Everyone does a lot on this board. So, I don't want people to feel overwhelmed or feel like they're need to leave because it's just too much. So I appreciate, Scott, that you brought up that point. And if you'd like to say anything as well, that would be great. Oh, Scott, are you frozen or are you just?
No, I was just didn't have. I mean, the concern, it's actually sort of interesting. The concern is based upon, some people have left because of various factors. But it all seems to revolve in part, not that it's been a slew of people, but I think people are feeling pressured that there's a lot of asks here. And I think what it underlines is the need for getting some more people involved. And I don't think it's necessarily on the trustee level. For example, I mean, the bake sales work, they raise some money. Did they raise enough money to justify the undertaking? I think you can argue either way on that. It's sort of a lot of work, and not all of us are bakers. Not all of us care to spend days baking, and sort of like, and it's an ask and it's an imposition. However, there are people in the community who like to bake. You guys found 3 of them. They seemed really happy about doing it. So to the extent that we can bring those folks in, and maybe on a quarterly basis, that they can make some, and us folks who may not be interested in that particular activity, or their partners aren't particularly interested in getting coerced into doing that, it alleviates that burden. But I think it just underlines the need to try to find smaller pieces for people who are interested in working with the library to leave us to do some of the more typical trustee stuff rather than like everything. That was where that was coming from. I mean, Marcia had a crazy work schedule, so anything was a crazy ask for her because she was just so overwhelmed. But I think everyone's feeling different pressures. People have got different things going on in their lives.
And we are working on a friends group, putting it together, but we felt it was more urgent to fill the board position first.
Yeah, it's both and.
Which hopefully will be done, within a month. I mean, I'm hoping that.
We need to, I mean, we need board members as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, it goes hand in hand because, you can get another person or 2 in, but I mean, notwithstanding the fact that we have a $100,000 budget, there's a lot of stuff to do. And adding 1 or 2 more people don't necessarily lighten that load. It's just got to be broader. So you're absolutely right, Rebecca. I mean, we need a couple of more trustees, but
right. So we've started
solve the issue.
What we want to do is put together a description of what a friend would be, kind of like we have the description of what a trustee does. So if you have any suggestions that you'd like to put in that description, you are welcome to email them to me.
Sure, sounds like a children's book, what a friend could be.
Yes. I was thinking of a dog.
Well, we have the description of a trustee that everybody kind of agrees on, and we can reference when asking people. We wanted the same thing for the friends group, so that if you asked somebody, they were getting the same information as if Melanie asked somebody, that sort of thing.
And I think from our casual inquiries and discussions with people we know, I think we definitely have a few people that will sign
Yeah.
on as friends. That seems a little bit of the easier sell at this point than the trustee role. So I imagine we could, probably have 5 solid friends
Oh, yeah.
once we move forward. So
I think it's just a
I
matter
think
of
that's,
other.
One of the
yeah.
nice things about a friends group is that they can decide what kind of friends they want to be. And it really doesn't make a difference because we can take someone who's like, wants to really be a best friend as opposed to
Right. Well,
a
the
casual
idea was-
acquaintance. We'll take them all
Yes.
happily.
And the idea was that when we ask somebody, they're going to say, well, what does a friend do? And we need some broad description of, do you have to go to a meeting every month? Do you have to, what does this entail type thing?
Did you
I
come up with
will. I'll
a
put on my
list?
thinking cap and put something together because I think I don't think it's hard to do. And
No, and we haven't started. We've just gotten sidetracked with a few other matters.
I was just saying, I'll put something together. And then you can rip it apart. It's fine, but it'll be something on paper.
I think that sounds good. And it seems like we have a pretty clear idea of people can volunteer to be a friend and then say yes or no at their will and only do bake sales or only come and weed the garden or only help out with youth activities, and nobody feels bad.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's a smorgasbord of stuff to do and they can find whatever they want. And if they come up with
Right.
any great idea, want to bring something that we're forgetting, they can do that too. I mean, it's sort of
Right.
like anything. It's part of like the fundraising thing, a penny, and anything helps. Any
We
contribution.
kind of defined it as like a super volunteer.
Well, the word friends also implies that there's some chumminess, that the people actually want to have somebody to talk to. You get a little old lady who wants somebody, to talk to at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's part of the element of why you would join such a group.
I think also that they're friends with the library, so they're an advocate for the
Right.
library.
That's a focus, but part of it, it's sort of what you learn as a salesman. Nobody wants to buy your product. What they want to do is solve their own personal problem. If you're selling them wrenches, it's because they've got a broken pipe. But the reason they have a broken pipe is because their sink is leaking and they have to fix the sink. And so really what their problem is, they want to make their wife happy by not having this thing drip in the kitchen. And we have to do the same sort of thing. We have to give the people the opportunity to be fulfilled in some other way that is, it's a benefit to them. Yes, everybody in total wants to help the library, but personally, it's because they're lonely, or it's because they want to, whatever. They want to meet a nice.
Trustees,
They're lonely. I don't know.
And you're the Don Draper of the library here.
I just want to say that I didn't become a trustee because I was lonely.
Okay.
I have my dogs.
And then
my
a
wife.
friend.
I feel like we all do appreciate the community of the group though, and I think the write-up that we have started mentions something about that. So
yes, it does.
I feel like we already have this stuff covered and can easily move forward with it all.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Do you have something you can send to the rest of us so we can throw in our 2 cents? Or you haven't gotten that far?
Yeah, we can put something together.
Are you volunteering to be part of the nominating committee now?
For what,
that means-
friends or?
Yeah, the nominating committee is handling recruiting friends too, so.
I can think of somebody, sure.
Okay.
How about
Maybe
if
a
we
your neighbor.
plan to put forward the nominating committee will tie up the work that's been started, and we'll bring forward the recommendation and plan at the next meeting. If people have thoughts they want to send to Rebecca of either things to include or consider, or people that they want to have on a list of considerations, they can do that in advance, and then we'll bring it forward in May. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so let's keep going. Brand and Marketing Committee. updates.
Okay, I could either go through everything I have here quickly, or I could just cut to the chase on the things that need attention. I don't know if people have had a chance to read through this material or not. It's not that long, so I can just go through it, but I don't want to belabor things either. What would you prefer?
Who would like Sarah to go through it quickly versus just hit the highlights of what needs attention? We're at 8 o'clock.
I've read it.
I think, yeah, she's put a lot of work into it. We should give her a chance to go through it quickly.
How about you hit the
All right, well, I'll go through quickly. Okay, so everybody now knows that we got the grant, and probably everybody saw that we're allowed to talk about the grant now, that we're allowed to talk about it. So one more thing that needs to be done that isn't on this list is we need to get a press release together about it to put in the papers. So I can start working on that, but that's not on this list because we didn't have that at the time that I wrote this up. So in terms of the research, we're finalizing. We've sent emails to all of the potential partners. The group to keep it under.
Sarah, you're breaking up. I'm not sure if others are seeing that, but for me, you're breaking.
At that point, we had it would be no cost to them whatsoever to partner with us, which would mean that they. Yeah, I guess it's just my connection. I don't know if there's much I can do about that. Is it better now? How about now?
Yes.
I'm back.
I think you're back, Sarah. Never mind.
She's going to sign in again, it looks like. While she's signing back in, I'll mention one update on the veterans banner for Bob Smith. Paperwork is submitted. I got confirmation of that today, so hopefully we'll have that in hand for when they hang things in for Memorial Day.
That'd be nice.
Oh, Scott, now you're here twice. Okay. Okay. All right. Give Sarah one more minute. We did on the survey, the veterans agreed to be fully in so that they'll get the detailed questions. The food pantry is also in, and the community association. So it's Historical Society, Fire Department still left to, and the seniors. Oh, and there's Sarah.
And are you with me now? Am I?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Okay, so I don't know where you lost me, but should I start all over again?
I was just telling them about who's in and out, the update from.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah. And since I wrote this, we have the vets in as well. And it looks to me like we're likely to get everybody, because why would they say no unless they're just being ornery, which they might be, but we'll find that out. And we are going to be sending the Everytown Direct postcard mailing to 3 zip codes, the 12168, 12169, and 12062. So that will represent almost 1,400 households. And I've told you about how we are pricing the survey, and that it would mean a commitment from us of up to $300 essentially. And the survey and survey pricing are now finalized. I sent the survey along to everybody. We might make modest changes when we do the programming and test the programming. Sometimes you find, well, this skip pattern isn't working, or this logic doesn't really work. We should change this or that. But basically, it's finalized. And the research communications timelines was attached, and I'm not going to go through it, but sort of the steps that we are going to be taking to launch this thing, to mail it, to tabulate it, to report on it, and then to have conversations around what we learn is all in this. So that's it for the research. The tween program research, we had talked about, I sent a survey around and I was waiting for a list of names to send it to. We could do it just the same way we did the Battle of Britain research, which worked really great. The Google, actually, Jen was the one that set it up in Google, whatever it is. Tell me what that is, Jen.
Forms.
Yeah, Google Forms. So we can do it the same way. But my question is, with things opening up, does it still make sense? I mean, there are questions in there that are also about, you know, if everyone's back meeting together, what interests you? So it's not only about virtual meetings, but I just don't know if we think it's necessary or not at this point. If so, I'm happy to do it.
I think our focus group was good. I don't know. I mean, we could always send out a link and say, hey, if we can have all tweens at least give it a try, but I don't think it's something that we have to, you know, go full force on. At least not yet, with things kind of changing and how. I mean, we're not going to do any
survey, because I know I sent it a while ago. I know Rebecca has it.
I'm pretty sure I have it.
Yeah, I don't have it right now, but I have it.
So, you know, it asks about the same things that we asked in the focus group, and then those and some additional things for in-person. Would you be interested in programs like this once things change back? So it covers off on both.
I mean, I think one thing is it doesn't, although the reopening is going to be for browsing and things like that and usage, I don't think it sounds like right now we're necessarily jumping into having in-person programming.
Right.
And we're probably going to learn some considerations of that as we talk about summer camp plans. So I wonder, you know, I don't know that it's not appropriate to continue to ask about virtual things, since we don't really know how things are going to pan out in the future.
Okay.
Oops, there's a cat.
That's the cat. Yeah. Stop it. So you think it's worth doing?
I'm just saying, I don't think that I think since there's a mix of questions about in-person and virtual, I don't think it's like no longer relevant.
Okay.
It seems like it can't hurt to ask.
Okay, then I just still need the list of, I think it was sort of like tweens and maybe early teens.
A list of
People from, I think it was from the camp, right, Rebecca? I
Yeah.
thought you had.
If Jessica had a list, could put together a list of kids in middle schoolish age that have attended the camp or.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so that'd be great. If I could get that, then we can work on getting that out. Veterans, we've already talked about the Battle of Britain and how that went. We actually got 16 completes last I looked on the survey that we sent out after, and it's pretty interesting looking at the kinds of events or programs that they would be interested in the future. So I'm going to write up a little report. I want to give it a little bit more time in case a few more people complete the survey, but I think it'll give us some good information about future talks. So I think it was kind of worthwhile. Robin is still planning to work on the veterans website. Jen, you purchased the banner already, right? Is it up yet?
No, it's not up. Sorry, when you were gone, I gave the little update. The paperwork's in, it confirmed it, but I don't have, it's not in yet. But I expect that it would be before they start hanging things for Memorial Day. So.
Okay, great. The Veterans Liaison, I think we're still nowhere with that unless you've had a chance to talk to Father John.
Father John was not interested, so.
Oh, he's not interested, okay. All right, onward and upward with that. We'll have to come up with somebody. And then branding updates. Robin is also going to work on streamlining the website. And more importantly, she sourced 3 graphic artists to for us to consider for the logo and that work. And we alighted on Abby Toval, who is sort of a local graphic artist who has worked with not-for-profits and nonprofits before. So she has a lot of experience with that. She knows the area, and she came in the least expensive. And she would charge $600 to have a discussion with us around what we see as the attributes of our brand, what the library is about, to do sort of a brainstorming session, come up with a few alternative logo ideas that she'll run by us, and we can decide which one we like. And also,
She's going to give us some kind of like brand guidelines, right?
yeah,
Like,
brand guidelines, and she can also help us if we want on some website redesigns. So I think we need to get approval on that, on moving forward with Abby for the $600 for that work.
So we put this forward in the form of, does anyone have any questions first about that project before? Okay, so then we put it forward in the form of a motion. So can we get a motion to spend, what do we want to say for up to the amount, Sarah?
600, I think 600. I think we padded it a little bit to get to the 600.
yeah.
Okay, so agree to spend up to $600 on the branding project as described by Sarah.
I so move.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
And then we just need to do the same thing on the research costs, the 305 that we may need to spend on the research, since we're pretty solid with, we don't have a final answer from Larry and PJ to pay for the mailing at the price point that it is. It's a little over $800. They had agreed to a $600, but we've proposed it to them. They're going to be talking with the board, I think tomorrow, about it, the town board, and they'll give us an answer tomorrow. I think they'll probably say yes. So they're paying for the mailing. The grants is paying for most everything else. It leaves us with maybe $300 that we need to kick in. So I'm proposing that we do that as well with the marketing budget.
I agree.
Any questions?
I so move that is a good idea.
Okay. And can we get a second?
Maybe we need a motion to authorize it.
Yes, well, I think it's a good idea, worth authorizing.
All right.
Great.
Can we get a second to authorize spending that?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Great. Moving right along, strategic planning. Ed, do you want to hit on some highlights and so Ed sent a report, so.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much I have to discuss. In terms of my personal activities, I have been, I guess Melanie would like this, I have been chasing after our next door neighbor. And I have been there, I think, 5 times already, and so far I've never found her home. She had some very healthy dogs there. You could probably hear them every time I get there. Other than that, nothing. In terms of the engineers, I really haven't accomplished anything. I can't think.
And please don't get bitten by a dog in the pursuit of this.
It sounds like if they didn't, she must have thick windows given how big they are. Noisy.
I mean, if Ed gets bitten by a dog, we may be entitled to a large cash recovery.
Hmm.
Maybe we get the whole property. Who knows?
We'll take the entire
Don't
house.
get bitten by a dog.
Now,
I
that
just
would
want
be,
the
that would
truck
be
in
wrong.
front, that's all. I don't know if anybody else has anything to report. You know, we assigned various.
In connection with that, I received the name of 2 architects, one who's a trustee at the Brunswick Library, who's actually, I think, done some work for them. And Tim also gave me the name of an architecture firm, I believe out of Saratoga Springs, which does a lot of library work. It sounded as if the trustee at the Brunswick Library is probably someone who's probably better attuned to small libraries' architectural needs. So that's a person who could probably come in and help in connection with assessing possible projects.
All right, well, please send me his name, and I'll call him. And
What
maybe he
makes you
knows
think it's a he?
a male chauvinist, I guess.
There happens to be both if we're interested in
here,
gender, well, one's a woman and one's a man.
Okay, well, maybe one of the 2 will know an engineer who can figure out whether our floor can stand up.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Right.
Just,
All
I
right, so
just wanted
please tell me the name.
to give a quick little recap for the folks who weren't in that meeting, just of what was agreed upon, that the focus right now would be on space enhancing improvements, that the biggest challenge that Kim is finding right now is being able to fit people in the building, especially for programming space and also the kids space, that not only is there a need for more space for usage in the kids area, but we're actually out of room for materials right now. So those were the challenges that we talked about and decided to focus on, and that the first step would really be a walkthrough with an architect and or an engineer to explore the options, to talk about some of our challenges and explore the options and start to get an idea of what work we might consider. And the idea being to see if we think that we can fit into the construction grant timeline. June through August is the submission timeframe. So I am not very positive that that is going to be realistic for us at this point. And while I would say I would want to encourage us to try to do it in this grant cycle, because they did get good funding for it this year, and you never know if that's going to continue. I again, in the spirit of trying to have realistic goals, I think that might be a challenge for us this year. So that's kind of our big project that we agreed we needed to focus on, and at the very least start the preliminary steps, because if we don't do it this construction grant cycle, we know we want to be ready to do it at another point. And that we would look at some other smaller projects if we have the bandwidth to do that, if we're not going to do some sort of big construction project at this time. Does that everyone agree that's sort of where we ended up at that meeting?
Mhm.
So the other things that's some of the things that Ed mentioned in his report was the some stuff we had gotten quotes for before, like the steps to the backyard, to be able to use that space in a better way, and then so some of the handicap access issues, which aren't really a priority unless we thought it was something that we could do for sort of a smaller grant, and some landscaping options, things like that, that we might be able to fit into other either fundraising opportunities or program opportunities. So there's kind of a lot in this, in the arena of building construction grants, that part of the strategic plan project right now. So is that fair, Ed? That's kind of the focus right now.
Yes, sounds familiar. Yes.
So in terms of moving forward, it seems like the first thing we need to do is identify who are the folks who are going to take the lead, who wants to do a walkthrough with the architect, and how soon can we get them in and take a look at what's going on? Because nothing's going to happen unless we get those folks in here and doing that.
Right. So I think at the last meeting, what we had said was that Kim and I would do the walkthrough with the architect and engineer if others are
So
available.
shall I send you and Kim the 2 contacts I have? And you want to speak with them and arrange it?
Well, I think it's my role, so I should call them, at least arrange it for the 2 of you. And do that much work. Yes.
Whatever anyone wants.
Do that. Talk to the person, give them some background. You know, Kim and Jen do plenty of work. Sounds fair that I should do this. I'd be happy to talk to them.
Would you be at the meeting though, Ed?
I would try to arrange it so that I could be. The Fridays are not too hard for me. I can probably come on a Friday. But let's see. Let's see what the people say. And I'll try to do what I can. I just, I feel bad. My life is a little complicated at the moment. And so, without going into a whole lot of details and wasting everybody's time, I do want to do more. And I feel bad that I miss meetings, miss activities. But this is certainly something I can do because I can do most of it by the phone. And then we have a walkthrough. I'll just make sure I get there.
And I think my concern is just that if it's Jen and I who are going to be there, primarily, it might be easier for us to be the ones to actually schedule the meetings or with the architect. But if you feel like that,
Well, I can leave the scheduling to you, but the briefing and discussing. I mean, it could be that both of these people are not the right person, and then we find some third person. So I'll make a phone call. I mean, if you want to,
okay.
It's fine with me. I just, I want to bear some of the burden.
You're busy stalking, Ed. That's. Yeah, I don't want anyone to feel like they have to take things on because they have a sense of like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Like if it makes more sense for someone else to do something and someone else is available, like we're all going for the same goal of keeping moving. So let's not worry about that too much. Maybe we could have, Scott, if you can send the names to the 3 of us, and Ed, if you can, maybe we can just confer on what seems like they look like. Do they look like they're going to be what questions might we have for them based on what we see their firms do? And are you still working on trying to find an engineer as well?
Well, I think that is what we need first, because that's the thing we've all agreed on. We want to put in the mobile shelves. And so we have to do something about assessing what the floor can handle. Until we have the ability to buy the land behind us, we can't consider that as a place where we can expand. And so that's why I've tried to go see this woman multiple times. And now keep plugging away. Maybe tomorrow morning.
I would assume that the architects would have engineers that they work with. So if we contact the architect, we have that name, contact them, and then see who they recommend for engineers. We can keep it moving through that.
Yeah, and it seems logical to call somebody who's already an architect on a board of a different library. I mean, maybe he's given what he wants to give, but he may be able to tell us about somebody else who would be willing to give some more. Or he himself may be willing to give more. Yeah, we'll see. It's a question of talking to him.
I think the possibility of settling a dog bite with an exchange of property is sheer genius.
Don't make this your last meeting, Tom. We need to.
It is
Or go out with a bang and you be the one who gets the dog bite. Party gift.
I've seen a woman outside a few times when I've driven by, and sometimes I have kids in the car, and that's not a great time to stop. But do you want other people to be on deck to talk to her if we see her around?
Well, sure. That's fine with me. I mean, part of my problem is I live 8 miles from the library, so it's a 16-mile round trip to see if she's there. And it doesn't seem appropriate to just call her up. I mean, I don't think that's the right way to approach her. Say, gee, we want to buy your house, or we buy your land. And she isn't somebody who has already been active with the library. It's certainly convenient for her. So my bet is that we're better off with a face-to-face meeting.
What's her name?
Jennifer Livonia, I think is her last name. I'll tell you in a second.
I think you have it in your report, yes? I saw it somewhere.
It's definitely Jennifer is her first name. I think it's Livonia. I have the information in my car because I keep driving over to see her.
Well, okay, so
Oh, yeah, I see it. Jennifer Levine. Okay.
so we'll start, Scott, if you can send that information on to the three of us, and then we will move forward with trying to contact those architects, see if they can bring in an engineer, and schedule some time to start walking through some options.
Perfect.
All righty. Anything else on strategic planning?
I don't know. Has anyone worked on any of these projects? I think we're focusing on short-term stuff. I think we're okay.
All right, fundraising.
Sending you the email. Okay, I was thinking that probably for the next fundraising, we have something scheduled for May. I think what may make some sense is to do that maybe in June and outside.
And what were you thinking?
It's a little bit warmer, and maybe just do sort of an open house brunch sort of thing where we can spread people out, put circles outside so that people can be in pods if they like, and that seemed like maybe doable if we have the energy to do it. What does that sound like, kids?
Sounds good.
Good, like a brunch type thing?
Yep. And maybe we can do something related to books around that too. Maybe we could have a reading, or people want to read a book and discuss it, and they can brunch and book. You know, Stephentown Memorial Library, well fed, well read.
I like that.
Okay, there's our new tagline. That's to the brand committee.
Actually, it probably should be well read, well fed, but we have our priorities in this community.
Are we clear to do the brunch foods, cooking wise, health
Yeah,
department wise?
the issue with respect to that, we can poison people at our location as opposed to do grab and go. So basically, the state has decided that they'll let nonprofit organizations have fundraisers through brunch and potlucks and stuff like that on premises. But as soon as you start making soups to go, that requires a higher level of sanitary inspection and supervision.
Strange.
So the answer to your question is, yeah, we can do that. Now, for all of you who are watching, I'm not suggesting that we engage in unsanitary practices, but it'll be okay.
I have a question or a thought, which maybe is a bad one, but every time I go out walking, I'm just absolutely disgusted by all the garbage all over the place. And I wondered if we've ever had sort of like a team of people go around and do a spring cleanup of all the plastic and garbage that's all over. And could we do that as a fundraising activity? Like instead of doing a 5-mile run, you do, I'm going to clean up the neighborhood with, you know, stick this into this and put it in a bag and take it home. You know what I'm talking about.
Before one of the Celebrate Stephentowns, I forget which one, second one maybe, we tried to pull something like that together. And the interest was like
Bill?
one person,
Less
one
than
person who couldn't do it.
Participant and doing it? Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. I'm not even interested. I just am interested in getting rid of the.
Well, maybe
Okay.
we can get some, maybe we can get some 6-year-olds to do car washes. We'll just film it and put it on YouTube, and then we can syndicate, make money.
I think the idea of doing it in that fashion, that like somehow you're, like you say, like instead of a race or something, is interesting. And it would certainly, there would certainly be some like goodwill of with the town if we were, the library was somehow doing something like that.
Yeah, I
Just not
imagine
sure.
everybody's disgusted, not just me.
There's the strawberry, just in terms of June stuff. I did hear that the Historical Society is planning to do their strawberry festival this year, so which is June. So we
Good.
might just want to keep that in mind, or either that it's good to do at the same time or good to do at a different time.
Well, we could always cross market, do a brunch, and then they can finish off with strawberries, or not.
Yeah, if we thought we were going to do it at the same time, I think we would definitely want to talk to them in advance and not.
There are other weekends we can do this on. It's really just the next warm weather thing. It doesn't have to be June. It could be late May. It could be August, whatever.
Yeah, I just think we should just be mindful of the timing before we schedule it with them.
Sure. So that's what I was thinking of in terms of the next event. I mean, what we should probably try to think about is what else we can do rather than just cook, because it's sort of getting a little bit much.
That's why I brought up the garbage picking.
My one exposure to garbage picking was that when I was in about 8th grade, we took 25 kids in our class and we went out with garbage bags. And in a quarter of a mile, we filled 25 of these big black bags with garbage. And what we learned was that even though it didn't look like there was very much, if you can see it at all, there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Probably talking about a hell of a lot of garbage, which means you're going to talk about an awful lot of bags, and the people are going to kill themselves filling them up. It's going to be a lot more work than it seems like it should be.
I don't know.
It's a bad idea. It might be a great idea, but it's a lot of work. Maybe it's something for the tweens to do. Just get an army of
The library.
Pardon?
I said the friends of the library can do it. That'll be their first task.
Social. Yeah,
That
social.
sounds like a great recruitment technique. Start with, you can pick up garbage.
Chain gang. All right, maybe
Feels
we
like
won't.
it would be useful to have some sort of brainstorming document around fundraising ideas where as people have ideas, they can start to flesh out what they might look like. And then, because some of this, I feel like we might not have enough time to plan like for immediate things, but to be able to have that and start planning for the future. So especially things that might be like weather dependent or things like that, that we would say, well, we would only do this in the spring, or we would only do this.
Right.
That we have a little bit of something to keep planning forward, so we don't have to do everything quite as much on the fly. Does that make sense to folks?
Sure.
Yeah.
That way we don't lose the ideas totally, but if we can't, but we might need more time to plan them.
I mean, one of the issues we have, the answer to that is yes. One of the issues we have is since you really can't do much, or at least for the last year, we couldn't do anything really in person. So we sort of like stopped thinking. I mean, I think doing a dance would be nice. At some point, Maria and I had spoken about this probably 3 years ago. And it's probably something that can be successful, and it's a different format. But I don't think we're ready for that quite yet. Most of the other sort of kinds of things you ordinarily do are in-person events.
Right.
Still available to us.
Like a square dance, or what kind of dance?
Well, they did the square dance format in Hancock, And apparently that was very successful. And Nettie was saying that it was a fun event.
Yeah, I bet.
Maria was talking about there are people who do ballroom dancing. And there are a couple of different venues that have periodic dances so that you could either get a band, a small group, a combo, or a DJ and do that as well. And putting aside whether people from the community would go, there is a community of dancers who might
Right.
show up.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we talked about the paint and sip, which is probably something you can, if you could find people who wanted to do it, probably do it outdoors.
Yeah,
That
we actually
didn't particularly
tried,
work well, but
yeah, we tried to set up a paint and sip and we didn't get enough because we were hiring an organization to run it for us and
Yep.
we didn't get enough people signed up.
that
Yeah,
was
that
then. This is now.
One last thing to mention timing wise, on the calendar. So, we had the question mark around Celebrate Stephentown in August, which is not happening, but the fire department is going to try for a car show on the weekend of August 14th. And they're hoping that Four Fowl will do a open house thing at the same time. So particularly if Four Fowl does something, but even if it's just a car show, that would be a good weekend for us to plan something.
Definitely.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
I'll start thinking about
Do the
that one.
brunch then.
What was the date of that again?
The weekend of the 14th. And I'll need to confirm that. I wasn't at the meeting this week to see if there was any.
In August?
Mhm. So maybe the fundraising committee can bring forward a proposal for the next meeting. That sound good? Or either May, or for either June and or August. That
Well, I
makes
mean, what we
sense?
may want to do is just the old book sale brunch routine. Don't all look so excited.
I think you need Ed on the committee to convince us what hole in our hearts needs to be filled by doing one of these fundraising events. Do the sales job, so we. Okay. Anything else on fundraising before we
No,
move
I'm
on?
totally stumped at this point. I have nothing more.
Okay, nominating. We started talking about friends, but Rebecca?
Right. I think everybody got the report that I sent out. We met and came up with had started with a long list of possible trustees, narrowed it down to people we knew, which was pretty small. I met with Kim, Kim and I narrowed it down to people who are actually patrons of the library, and kind of ranked them as far as who she would call first. I don't think we've gotten anywhere. Is that true, Kim?
I've contacted, never heard back from one person, 2 people who said thank you, but not right now. One person who was, I think that in the future she'll be somebody who would definitely be good for the library, but right now she's like, mom who's got kids the same age as probably a little bit younger than Melanie's, or maybe around the same age, and she's running their PTO and very active in her school. So she was like probably not gonna, even though she did say, oh, maybe what does it entail? But I think that was just being polite. And then I just actually talked to Scott Connors today. I texted him and he emailed me or got back really quickly. He's thinking about it. He said he'll think about it for a couple days and let us know. I did invite him to the meeting tonight, but he seemed interested, but I'm not sure how interested. So we'll see where that goes from there. But I still have some more people I can contact. And And I'm still trying to rack my brain and think about some others that we might be able to get in touch with.
So I guess I put out there the list of people who we've contacted. If anybody has any more great ideas, let us know. You can email Kim or I or Jen and we'll just keep going forward from there. As far as the friends group goes, we started to put together a description of a friends group. And we'll continue with that. We'll have something in May to bring to everybody to agree on. If you would like to be part of that, let me know. Not part of the friends group, part of making the description.
Yeah, no one's stepping
They're
down
all
to
locked
just
on the board right now. And one thing we had talked about, which I have not gotten a hold of her, was just trying to get a better understanding of what happened with the previous friends group. And I was going to reach out to a few people to ask about that. I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but when we start bringing up a friends group, there was a friends group that had a history not too long ago. And I just thought we should if someone said, is this like the previous friends group? We should understand what that means.
I think that's quite a good idea. I think that group was functional right before I joined, or I might have been part of it once, and then not being a really good gossip, the thing sort of disintegrated because other people had their issues and it kind of fell apart. But I think I can remember some of the people who I believe were involved in it if you need names.
I mean, I kind of got an understanding from Sue at one point that it kind of became a disagreement between the board and the friends group. And as far as who had what type of power over what and where those lines were drawn, I don't want to cause that again. And if we are asking people who may have been on the friends group previously, if someone references that, I just feel like we should kind of have the backstory.
The thing that sticks in my mind now that you mention it was that they were asked to put together a lot of meals, but had no input on what the money was going to be spent for. Now, you could argue that that's within the province of the board,
right?
But you can also make it understood that your request could be, this is going to be for computers. Is that something you could get behind, or how would you feel about doing that or something, as opposed to, we need a chili dinner for blah, blah.
Yeah, I think Rebecca's instinct to both, set up a clear definition of the friends group before we continue was a good one for just this very reason. And I think being mindful of that, of also trying to keep it as casual as we're proposing, so that we reduce those kinds of expectations. I think, Rebecca, you're on the right track with how you're approaching this to avoid potential problems.
Yes. Amen.
All right. And anything else on that?
I was just thinking of Alice's Restaurant, where the movie where the guy's going up and down with a psychiatrist going, I want to kill, I want to kill, I want to kill. And you don't want to dredge that up while you're talking to people about it. You're going to have to be jumping up and down with them to make them feel like their behavior is appropriate.
Right. I think if we understand what happened, we can set a clear definition so we don't repeat history again.
Yep.
Well, I think There's a different mindset for a friends group. You know, a board has a certain collection of responsibilities. A friends group is a more social activity. And so I think part of selling it is.
I mean,
what-
from what I
is for them?
understand,
Is
a
it
friends
fun?
group could be a range of things, from a casual group of volunteers to kind of having their own nonprofit sort of thing. You know, there's a wide range out there, I think.
Well, I mean, some people use friends groups as off-balance sheet ways to
Yeah.
create slush funds for the library. It's,
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's, I'm putting it in sort of a nasty framework. I don't think that that's what we're interested in.
No, we just need to define what we want so we get what we want, I guess.
Yes, I think that's absolutely right.
Rebecca, I'd like to suggest we add Sarah's cat to the list of potential trustees, because that cat is super interested in our meeting.
It's quite lonely also.
Does he want to be a trustee?
Just a friend.
Geez, there's another one.
Yeah.
How about youth committee?
Okay,
That
so
group.
youth committee, I think everybody has read about what we did for the Easter grab and go. It was very successful, I think, and the feedback I've had from it was that people liked the bags and were happy with what was in them, and kind of glad to just do something and get out in the community. We even had people come by just to see the Easter bunny. So,
And the Easter bunny was just simply amazing.
He was,
She was adorable. She was really,
that's
really
Brady, yes.
cute.
Brady has volunteered many times at the library. So, and the teens were very happy to do it too. So it was good for them.
Brady was one of our regular volunteers who came into the library once a week to help out. So I'm hoping she'll continue. She's great.
Yeah.
I guess the more pressing issue in youth committee is summer camp. I'm kind of seeing this as a huge task this year, where usually we kind of know what direction we're going and we have a way of doing it that kind of just falls into place. We do have Jessica Rante and Taylor Meyer as our director and assistant director. Our first meeting to start planning summer camp is next Thursday at 4:30. If anybody would like to be part of that, they're welcome to join. What we've kind of done to start up the process of thinking is just kind of a brainstorm email about what questions we have, or what questions we think parents might have or other community members might have as far as camp goes, and we'll use that as a jumping off point of discussion. I think there'll be a lot of questions this year, on both sides of the aisle.
The state just came out with guidelines for camps. Have you guys seen that?
No,
Okay,
I thought they were coming out till June.
I may be mistaken, but I'll find out, and if there are, I'll shoot them over to you.
Okay, yeah. Because my understand, this was from a while ago, that they wouldn't come out till June, which we need to plan before then.
My recollection is that they came out last week, but I could be.
Okay, yeah.
They're dealing. I'll take a look, and if I find them, someone will tell me where they are.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, our thought is we have to plan as though it's going to happen next week with the way things are now, assuming that if things change, which they probably will, it will be for the better and not the worse. We just can't predict that. So I guess what we need to know from the board is what the library is comfortable with as far as using space, having campers there, How much interaction with the library is okay. Before we start our
Best way
planning.
to approach that input now, or do you think, Rebecca, the youth committee should put forward a recommendation, a proposal for next month's meeting that then the board can approve? What do you think would be more?
Well, I guess if there, if there's some sort of like the community, like we don't want them in the building at all or something like that, it would be helpful to know now before we start planning, so we don't go down the wrong path.
How many children are we thinking about accommodating?
Well, we have discussed limiting it this year to Stephentown children. Typically, we have about 40 kids there. I think it says that we can service up to 60. I don't think, we've never had 60 kids there. We can talk about limiting numbers. That's one of the questions we have is, should we limit how many kids we allow? Should we say that if you sign up, you need to come to camp? What happens a lot of times is parents are, oh, free camp, I'll sign them up, and then they come 2 days out of the whole month. So you really can't count them as numbers. Do we need something more solid as far as, yes, this person will be here for these weeks, if we are limiting numbers and that such?
Right. So normally we get 60 kids signed up, but then like you said, we only have about 40 a day who actually show up.
And how many of that 40 are Stephentown residents typically?
Most of them.
So you
I
might,
don't think we have more than I think last year we only had 3 or 4 who were not Stephentown residents.
all right,
Because
so
of
that
that.
doesn't change it that much if you limit it to Stephentown. Yeah.
It doesn't for the past. From what I've seen of looking for summer camps for my own child is people are eager to sign up for summer camps. So limiting to Stephentown would just ensure that we didn't get an overflow of.
Yeah, that it's not like the Easter grab and go bags and we have 100 kids coming from the whole school district.
Yes.
I think
So
limiting
is
it
there
to
anyone?
Stephentown.
Go ahead, Melanie.
I just said I think limiting it to Stephentown makes sense this year.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Is there anything else for people who aren't on the committee that they have either major questions or major concerns or recommendations that they'd like to voice now before the committee starts putting together their thoughts?
Well,
Well,
the only,
basically, go
the
ahead.
only consideration is that we charge the people from outside of Stephentown. How much of a difference do they make to the budget?
It doesn't make a difference.
No.
Is that significant? Okay.
No, and we don't get that money anyway. That all goes to the town. So it's not like it's not like we'd be losing money in some way.
I mean, I think the bigger issue is what kind of program are you running? Are you going to run a program which has the kids inside? Do you have enough space to do the social distancing? And you rely upon an effective way to control the kids in the very small areas that we have? It just strikes me that those are the problems. And if you decide to run a program that focuses on outdoor activities, which you certainly can do, the question becomes then, what's your contingency plan in bad weather? So like you can
Right.
probably, I mean, those are sort of the issues that we've got to deal with.
Right.
Pardon?
So I mean, that's what we've talked about, is that we can no longer put 40 kids in the community room to watch a movie. That's not going to happen. So we have discussed it being a fair weather camp. We do have the tent. If it's just drizzling or something like that, if there's a big thunderstorm or a big storm, we may need to and can't, send kids home, which isn't unheard of. New Lebanon Camp does that.
Is the fire hall any kind of option or no?
people have asked about that. The fact that they didn't want us to do trunk or treating in their parking lot makes me think probably not.
Yeah, probably. It's not a good sign.
No, I don't think, they're still technically closed and they're only letting us use like the hall for the blood drive as a very, limited thing. So I don't see them saying yes to that.
So we'll just move them into town hall.
But I mean, in the past, the camp has used the community room kind of like as a home base as far as, counselors at least in and out. So I guess a question would be, could we still do that? Would it be okay? We're thinking of, usually there's 3 groups of campers divided by age, and we're thinking they would kind of stay in their own groups. We wouldn't intermix them. Could we circulate a group into the community room to do like a project or something, clean it, and then, I just want to know what the library board is comfortable with as far as that goes.
Well,
Since we,
what are the rules for the schools? I mean, they have the same problem. The kids go to gym class. How do they handle, they're getting close to each other, playing games and things like that?
they have their masks on. For just being in a classroom, it's 3 feet apart. For doing activities such as gym and everything else, it's 12 feet apart. I did talk to the gym teacher at school. She said technically when they're, 12 feet or more, they could take their mask down, but kids aren't really good at judging space and that sort of thing. So she just has them leave the mask on all the time.
What kind of games and stuff can they do? What do they do on a rainy day when they can't go outside and there are too many kids to be 12 feet apart? That's a long distance. Can't put
Oh,
many
in gym class? I think they have like spots on the gym floor so they know where to stand.
But how do they play basketball or something like that? It seems like it'd be pretty hard.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's not directly a concern for us, but so say we have 40 kids at camp, they're split into 3 groups. Like if we have 15 kids per group, I don't think we can fit 15 kids plus counselors in the community room.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, but I don't even know how they can fit them into the gym class, into a, 30 kids in a gym class, and that would make a very big gymnasium at 12 feet apart.
I feel like I don't want to cut the discussion short because this is going to be a really important one. I'm just not sure that, I feel like maybe we just need to, because Rebecca, you've already starting to have the conversations with like the school, which makes total sense. We need to get some guidelines. I think, we've got a big list of questions that the group has started to generate. I feel like we need to do some work on this in the committee level and then bring it back with the recommendation of how.
Right. I guess I just want to know if there's anything that absolutely, the board does not want to see happen or that sort of thing before we move forward. Because we will be moving quickly just because we need to hire and get the word out there.
My major concern is, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I would assume that somebody's gonna find out from the staff how they feel about their exposure to kids, or
The staff, I don't think the staff aren't usually exposed to the kids because camp ends at 2, the library opens at noon. So they're usually pretty separate, and at least until 2, when then parents will bring the kids into the library to come and do things. But I don't know where we'll be by then in terms of inviting people in.
Thank you.
My major concern is the same concern I have in connection with things that I'm doing in my job. For example, we're trying to figure out how you run a state fair. The good thing about the state is that it has the Department of Health and a team of people who are sort of looking at various projects and you're working through them. And I don't feel confident necessarily that we have all of the expertise that we need to make safe decisions about some of the things that we're up to. given that I feel somewhat cautious in connection with the activities we're doing at the state on our enterprise level, and the same concern here, only it's like much greater because I'm not sure that the committee, this board, the town, or anyone around here has the scientific knowledge available to them to figure out how to run a safe summer camp. So unless and until we can find the right people who can help us, or if there are clear guidelines, that's really what controls what we're going to do. Because other than that, we're just flying blind. We're doing stuff that may feel comfortable to us, but may just not make any sense from a public health standpoint. That's my major concern here.
Anyone else?
So would you suggest we don't do the camp at all?
No, that's actually not what I'm saying. I mean, the concern is figuring out how to do it right and finding people who can help you tell you what sensible rules are. And it's not something that any of us have the expertise to do. So the question is, can we find at least state guidance? Is there something that the CDC puts out? Is there someone somewhere who's available to us who can say, this is the way you can do it? Now, I know the state either has or is coming out with guidelines for summer camp. Hopefully they're sufficiently applicable to our plant and our program so that you can just crib them. Because if they're sort of in the ballpark, then at least you have something to work from that's been vetted by someone who knows something. So it's not a no, it's just a question
If
of,
they put those plans out in a timely fashion. I mean,
well, look,
last year,
they're opening summer camps. They've already done that. They can't tell summer camps, go ahead and plan, and then we'll give you the guidance, once the kids are there. So that stuff will come out, and let me just find out whether at least the state is.
Because I mean, June is too late. As far as people who have knowledge about this and everything, I think our best asset is our director and assistant director have been working with children within the school district for the entire year. It's not a camp, but it's, a very similar situation.
They're certainly better positioned than we are.
Right.
Okay. Well, it's good to have that concern out there. I think that is on our concern as well, that we don't necessarily
I
have
wasn't
the guidelines.
suggesting otherwise. It's just hard.
It is. So
It's
let's have that meeting next week. Start to see what we can come up with and bring that back.
And if anybody would like to join the meeting, please let me know.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca. I know it's going to be a big bear this year. Okay, building committee. Tom, do you want to do that and administrative at the same time? You've had the one report together.
Yeah,
Anything
the main thing for the building committee that doesn't have anything to do with the grant projects that we've been talking about is fixing the piping on the hot water heater in the community room, redoing that, and putting in a drain so that if the piping fails, the scalding water doesn't go all over little kids in the community room, but runs into the crawl space. And that looks, I think, Tony Skroka, is that his name? Whatever his name is.
Yep.
Gave an estimate of around $1,500 to do that. So that's hanging out there for consideration, authorization, or whatever. And I think that's all that I had with the building. Oh, and Ed pointed out about the roof. We ought to take a look at that, probably. The junction point between the old part of the building and the addition. And the second thing was the director's performance evaluation form that I did a draft of and passed to people. Hopefully it will dovetail with the one that Sarah is doing for the staff to give feedback to the director on the comment. The only comment that I have about that is that, and then Sarah knows, I'm sure, that in order for people feeling comfortable about filling that out, and not feeling like they have to perjure themselves in order to keep their job, you need somebody on the board to kind of get feedback and then feed it back to the director anonymously. I know that Kim would never do it, but a lesser person could say, "Who said that about me?" And that's what you don't want. So I'm happy to do whatever needs to be done about that. But I also recognize that I am no longer on the board. So if somebody else wants to finish it, why, go with God and have my blessing.
That seems like one of the things that the Friends group could do, Tom.
Thank you.
One
Yeah,
other thing we're
Yes. And if you have a need in your life,
Right. Thank you.
kill two birds with one stone.
One other thing we're going to add to the administrative committee that Sarah can just briefly touch on is policy review. So that seemed like the place to park that work. Sarah, do you want to just quickly give just a quick update on what's going on with that?
Yeah, so I went to a Zoom webinar called Making Policies That Support Library Services in March, the end of March. And it was kind of eye-opening. Basically, the takeaways that really matter are that I think we really need to have a policy committee. There's now a law that that libraries need to review every policy that they have within 5 years of the policy, and policy should really be following a certain template in terms of how they look. And I've looked through all the policies that we have that are electronic that Kim sent over to me, and they don't. Some of them have dates, some of them don't have dates, some of them it's clear that they were voted on, some of them it's not. So I think we really need a policy committee. The webinar also provided a whole lot of resources. So if we're trying to come up with new policies, we can look at what other libraries are doing using these resources. So it's in the folder that Jen loaded everything in. It's just sort of notes on the meeting. But anyone that's on the policy committee and wants to think about what policy should we have, or what do we need to update? What should it look like? There's lots of places you can go as a resource so you're not reinventing the wheel. So I think we should take a look at that. And it was kind of interesting listening to him because he's saying that policy implications should always be vetted with the staff before they're implemented, because they may say, oh, well, if we did that, I would get this kind of reaction from our patrons and it would be really problematic. And also when you initiate a new policy, it's important to let patrons know what the policy is. So you have to do a good job at both when you're coming up with one, talking to the staff, really vetting what would make sense, and then if you're changing one, letting patrons know this is why we changed it and this is our rationale for it. The only other things in here, I can sort of put together a template based on what they said the policies should look like. So I put the ingredients of it in here, but it isn't in template form, so I can do that. And the only other thing is I thought for the tagline, if we are going to go with a new tagline, there's a section in here called Core Values of Librarianship. And I think we could consider some of these words or variations on these words for the tagline. Access is already in there and in our tagline, but access, confidentiality, democracy, diversity, educational and lifelong learning. I'm not going to read through it all, but it's just some ideas and words that we could consider when we have that conversation with Abby. But the main thing is we should probably have a policy committee because we should be, I think, more focused on making sure our policies are in order, that we've thought about what we really need, that they look right, that the dates are correct, that we're keeping track of the updated. You're supposed to keep a record of the old one. And I mean, perhaps the hard copy ones, which I didn't look at all, Kim, because I had like too much going on. Those might be in better order, but that was my take. And I put a spreadsheet together as well that's in there that you can look at.
I have all of the policies. Someone gave them to me when I came home, but they are in no way in a good shape, which is one of the projects I was trying to work on, but just never was able to get to because I didn't have time. But the one of the places to look to for policies that are always good is to go to the Albany Library. They have Scott, who's the executive director, has said, please take whatever you need from our library website. If you guys want to use it, copy it, go for it. So they're a good resource in terms of different policy and how to word it and things like that. So that's another good reference point. But if you want all of these policies, I will actually put them back in my office. They got taken home by mistake. So, but yeah, they're not in. I mean, like we even have, before I open it up, policy on telephone use. The library's telephone is for library business and for its emergencies. Okay, we have all these different things. The other thing I was going to suggest, though, is looking at the employee handbook, because we did adopt the employee handbook, and that's going to have policies in it as well that are technically adopted, that, things from fines and, just different behaviors. And so that would be another place to incorporate some of the policies that we have already.
Okay. Yeah, I put together an electronic file policy inventory. So I went through every one that you had sent me electronically and just said, here's the policy name, here's the status, whether it's approved or adopted by the board or not, the date when it was approved or adopted, and based on the 5-year thing, the date of mandatory review for those policies. And then I put, said, here's the purpose of the policy. Do we have one or multiple versions? Is the format compliant or not? None of the formats are compliant, and then some notes. So I can just, in my spare time, start adding the hard copy ones to this, or if somebody else wants to do it, or maybe the committee could do it, but at least I have that started.
Yeah, this looks great. I actually just pulled it up. It looks really good. I'll just keep the hard copies of the files in my office. So for whoever wants to, and if you want, I can go through them as well at points in time when I have time.
Thanks, Sarah and Kim. Sarah, that's great to be able to get us started on this. And since next month is when we sort of reevaluate who's on what committees and stuff, we can decide if this is something that's just underneath the administrative committee. Do we need a separate committee? And other people want to join in to participate in this. And then we can just start to prioritize this work against the other work we're doing. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, they actually said if you don't have your policies in order, you can lose your license, or if you don't have policies, maybe if you just didn't have policies. So, I mean, I don't think that's likely to happen. I don't think they're going to come snooping around, but something to pay attention to.
Definitely.
Okay, we're running a little bit over. Anything on grounds?
Not anything pertinent. You guys know that we got an estimate to have dead bushes removed from the garden. It was a little over $1,500, which we felt like was a lot. So we still need to get other estimates, which hasn't happened yet. And that's that.
I just want to mention for the grounds, I know we've talked about the trees that are in front of the building. I just want to remind everybody that those trees were planted there as a memorial. So if we do take them down, we really need to make sure we have someone who looks at them and says, yes, they are dead and they need to be taken down, because I can tell you that the family who had them planted will be really, really upset if they find out that they were taken down from, and they weren't dead. So I don't know if we want to have someone take a look at them before we go and take, anything down, but just so you know.
Yeah, I remember that story. We weren't talking about doing anything to the trees, although I did bring that up in the past. We were just looking at the dead bushes right in front of the library, which was,
Okay.
I think we talked to you about before we got the estimate, because we wanted to make sure there was no special feelings about any of the bushes, and you thought no.
They were all donated by Alice Swersey and by Bert Swersey, so I think that it's fine.
So anyway,
There's also the issue of all these encroaching gravel mound.
Yeah, that's going to be part of that strategic planning discussion. So let's not revisit it tonight.
Sounds good. To me.
Okay. So anything else on grounds?
nope.
Annual meeting, just quickly, a quick update. The materials so far are posted on the website. I also uploaded them to the file, so you can see the agenda and such. We'll need the regular reports that we have, just so people are on board with the agenda. Just to call out, Scott, we're going to ask you to handle the number 5, the election of new and returning trustees, since I am one of the new trustees. I just didn't do that myself. So your name is next to that item. We have, of course, the director's report from Kim. Treasurer's report will be Melanie, since she is now treasurer. Rebecca for youth committee report. And we were able to get several outside attendees confirmed. Thank you, Melanie. The new superintendent for Berlin School District will be there. We have our retired trustees, Nettie, Marcia, and Alice are going to be attending. So we'll be.
There's 4. Who are we forgetting? Nettie, Marcia, Alice.
Tom.
Oh, Tom is the other one because he's leaving.
I won't be retired by then.
So,
not technically, but.
And Scott Manhennick is actually making a guest appearance, just to say nice things about you, Tom. So
that's very gracious on his part.
None of the rest of us were willing to do it, so.
More akin to a celebrity roast.
Do we know if any of the staff are coming?
I don't, but I can send an email out and find out.
Okay, that would be awesome. Okay, so any questions or concerns for the annual meeting? We're all feeling good? All right, great. Okay, so we're done with committee reports, on to old business. Any old business? All right, going once, going twice. No public is here to comment on this, so moving on to new business. There was one item I wanted to mention. Pam Cooper's called me. The town board is working on another one of the town cleanup days where people can bring stuff to the transfer station for free. Last time we handled, not selling, but distributing the tickets for that. I know at the onset it was a little rough going to work out the logistics, but then I think we got a good plan in place of how we handled that. So she wanted to know if the library is willing to dispense the tickets again. She recognized that the COVID protocols, there might be concerns with that. So just the highlights is it would be sometime in the summer between Memorial Day and Labor Day. They'd want to make the tickets available 4 to 6 weeks in advance, which I think seems like much longer than in advance than the last time.
Yeah.
They're willing to be open to our suggestions in terms of timing. For instance, obviously camp to me came up right away that we would want to, if we were going to be doing this, we would want to do it before we have camp in the mix of things. So it's up for the board to discuss. Kim, I don't know your thoughts on this based on last time.
I think it would be fine. I don't see any problem with us doing it as long as it's made clear that we're not the ones who are running the coming up with the rules of it. We did have a couple of people who were pretty ticked off with us, but you know, I don't think that that's something that we can avoid. But if we can try to avoid it, that would be good. But I don't see any problem with it. I think it's a good thing to get people into the library, actually, because we had a lot of people who came in were like, "Oh, I've never been in here before." Well, welcome. You want a library card? You know. So definitely.
What were they ticked off about?
There was a couple of people who were unclear on the rules, like that they could only have one truckload, and that, you know, only one ticket per person meant one truckload, and that they thought they could have more, and you know, that kind of a thing is where they just weren't upset by.
Blaming
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Maybe we can have something where there's, I think last time there wasn't really a way to contact the folks at the transfer station, you know, so maybe if we can have something where there's a contact for if you have questions or complaints.
Right. Here's the phone number. You don't need to talk to me about it.
Okay, we have Pam's number. We'll just give them Pam's number.
There you go.
Larry's too, you know, it's okay. Go to Larry's farm, he'll take care of it.
Any other questions on this, concerns?
I think it's really good. It brings people in and lets us, I mean, basically we could insist that they get a library card along with their ticket to the dump. Linkage, it's like an antitrust violation, but no one's gonna find out.
I do think if we're going to do it, we should try to maximize the benefit to the library of doing that. Not requiring a library card, perhaps, but something else. If there's something else we can do to.
We'll give away books, all the books that are dumped on us. Here's your ticket, but you got to throw this out. It's the rest of your garbage.
Kim, would you like me to just have Pam work with you directly?
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. And we'll just try to avoid this happening during summer camp time.
Yeah, I mean, even if we did say like camp, you know, say tickets are available from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock so that we're not at the same time. But I don't think having camp there at the same time, because they're going to be outside and away from the building. I don't think that it's going to be that much of a big deal to have people coming in at the same time. Because you might even have parents who are picking up their kids or dropping off their kids saying, hey, can I get a ticket at the same time? So I don't want to make it so that it's inconvenient for people too.
So I will let Pam know that we don't object. We're willing to talk to her about it, and she can talk to you directly, Kim.
Perfect.
Okay. Anyone else have any other new business? Nope. All righty. So what's it time to get a motion to adjourn?
I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll second it.
All righty. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. Have a lovely night, everybody.